In this video, I'll be merging two videos together, the top 5 best and top 5 worst Elden Ring Dungeons videos I made previously. The AI site I was using to make my previous videos is not working at the moment, but I need to make a video, so I decided to merge these two together, and I have to use my real voice for the intro. So let me know if you prefer my real voice or the AI voice. The rest of this video will be in AI because I'm just merging two previous videos together. Enjoy.
Elden Ring has no shortage of dungeons. The sad part about this is that quite a few of them totally suck. I'll be showing you the top 5 worst dungeons in the game. This is based on my own bias and personal preference, but my opinion is worth more than your facts, and I'm always right. If you disagree with me, then you're simply wrong, and that's okay. Just as long as you see that you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, and that you make me absolutely sick. So the first one here isn't that bad, it's just in a shit location, and it's very annoying. The Lindell Capital Catacombs, which is in the subterranean shunning grounds. God damn it. This one is ass mostly because of its location, but it's also just annoying for anyone that isn't paying attention, or that has a below room temperature IQ. So let's say you waddle on into the dungeon. You have to open the sealed door, and you see the lever up above you. Okay, easy enough. You waddle on through the dungeon. You take the stairs up because you want the lever to open the door before you end up exploring the res of the dungeon. And uh-oh, there's no fucking lever. You head back towards the Grace and notice the door's open, and inside is an omen. You've been bamboozled, you fool. You should have gone up the fire-spewing tower, you absolute imbecile. Anyone who makes this mistake should honestly just unalive themselves. There's no point in continuing on living. It's all worth it at the end, though, when you get the Lord of Blood's exaltation from the dungeon boss. Now the next one has a pretty good reason to be on here. The Seathwater Cave, in the passage between the Atlas Plateau and the Volcano Manor. This one is on here because of all of the poison enemies and the poison swamp. We all know from Soft loves poison swamps, but did they have to do it 15 fucking times in one game? Like, what the actual fuck? At least none of them are half as bad as Farron Swamp, or even a tenth as bad as fucking Blight Town. God forbid From Soft decides to make another Blight Town, people will lose their shit. And the dungeon boss of this dungeon is 2 Kindred of Rots, and in return for defeating them, you only get the Kindred of Rots exaltation. Admittedly, it is pretty good if you make a rot build, but I've never seen anyone use it, aside for when people were cheering promised consort Radahn when he first came out, because his fight was damn near unplayable. Anyway, this next one makes me sad just thinking about it. The Spirit Caller Cave, in the mountaintop of the Giant's Frozen Lake. This one isn't too difficult to get through once you figure out the location of the spirit summoning snails. But god damn it if it isn't annoying to deal with. There's a bunch of wolves, and even a few bastards using Bloody River that get summoned. I think there's 3 in total, and they respawn unless you kill the snail. But that's not the most annoying thing. The fucking boss is the Godskin Apostle and the Godskin Noble. You have to kill the Apostle, then the Noble will spawn in. Then after you defeat the Noble, you can then finally kill the Spirit Caller Snail. And it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure it summons the Godskin duo if you take too long to kill it. Absolutely annoying. And all you get in return is the Godskin Swaddling Cloth, which isn't bad, but goddamn I hate this bosses. And am I the only one that gets dizzy watching the Godskin Noble's fat-ass barrel roll around the damn arena? This next one really fucking sucks, and I'm 90% sure most people don't even know this one exists. It's the Consecrated Snowfields Catacombs, obviously in the Consecrated Snowfields. This one is pretty straightforward actually. I'm just really fucking traumatized from the first time I went through it. You walk up the stairs, and a goblin hops onto your head, and I have HP now. So it's not that bad, but I was going through the game with Vigor at 20 for years. I never leveled Vigor, and I was always one-shotted. This dungeon isn't that bad now that I have Vigor, but it still sucks. Damn near every corner you turn, you have a good chance of being whacked upside the head by a damn imp. And every attack does massive damage, even if you have good health. I still haven't suffered enough to wear actual armor that offers better resistances. My drip is too good for that.
It is even funnier a second time.
Anyway, you have two of these doggy statues that will violate you, and they will enjoy it. There's a few clean rot knights in the dungeon as well, which just beautiful. But what really sucks is that the room on the left is simply a gank room. You waddle in hoping for gold, and you don't even leave with copper, you just get assaulted. It's like walking around Memphis at night time. The boss reward is worth it though. Killing the Rotten Duelist gets you the Rotten Duelist cloak, which is too bulky in my opinion, which means it's facts. So you can remove the cloak entirely and keep just the snake arm bands. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it goes so hard. It does attract aggro though, but that just means everyone finds it sexy. Now this is the last dungeon, and the absolute worst of them all, the fucking abandoned cave in Caelid. This place is pretty low level. You can probably do it pretty easily around level 50, but the entire place is covered in scarlet rot, and that makes your character super slow, and obviously procs scarlet rot. Then the enemies deal fucking poison on top of that. By the time you get to the boss room, you're scarlet rotted, and possibly poisoned. And the bosses are two clean rot knights. The boss room also has a nice puddle of scarlet rot in it. Like holy fuck, just leave me alone. I've never felt sexually assaulted by a game, and if I didn't know any better, I'd think scarlet rot had a thing for me. I would take its hand in marriage, but unfortunately Melania best me to it. The reward is well worth the violation you receive though, since it's the golden scarab talisman, which boosts your rune acquisition by 20%. Very nice. Anyway, Elden Ring has a good number of dungeons. Quite a few of them are forgettable, since there are simply so much. There are a lot of bad ones, some dungeons that are simply annoying and tedious to even think about. But I already made a video on that. This time I'll be showing you lovely little bastards, the good dungeons in Elden Ring. And that is said very loosely, because let's be honest, nobody will be scratching at their neck, looking for their next Elden Ring dungeon dive. Most dungeons are just repeats, and not very interesting to go through after the first time. The first one is the Ozuria Hero's Grave. This one isn't that unique, since there's a few just like it. And let's be honest, this one isn't in here because of the bosses. Last thing I ever want is to ever fight not one, but two Crucible Knights. So the boss fight is annoying and very reused, but what is nice is that halfway down the chariot pathway, you can look up and throw a rock through a window, which will hit a pillar, and after a moment, a light will spawn a chariot, destroying all three of them, which gives you some free rewards. The Tree Sentinel armor set. Very nice. Like I said, I'm using the term good very loosely, but most dungeons are genuinely just bland, so it's little stuff like this that makes me smile. Now the next one is the hidden path to the Halig Tree. Again, very loose with the term good here. But I like this one, because you can essentially just skip it. Some people probably don't even know that this dungeon has a boss. I always liked the invisible platforms in Souls games, except for the ones at Seath in Dark Souls. But other than that, I think it's kind of fun, so I was extremely happy to see it here. If you just drop down from the broken railing and walk across the invisible platform, you can head down some neat invisible stairs and jump down and into a window, blah blah blah. Then you get to the boss room, and it's unfortunately just a fucking mimic tear. That's a bit disappointing, but I still think it's neat nonetheless. The reward for the dungeon is a death root, which is needed for the Beast Clergyman's quest. Alright, now that we're done with those two, we're getting into the real good ones here. Ones that aren't annoying, ones that are a bit beautiful maybe, and ones that are unique. Starting with the Cave of Forlorn in the consecrated snowfields. This one doesn't have anything unique about it, except that it's absolutely beautiful. You can see some of the jellyfish below you under the ice, and something about it gives off a vibe that I love. It's a bit annoying that all the enemies are beasts from Farah Mazula, since they're pretty tedious and boring. But the vibe is there, and that's more that can be said for most of the other dungeons. Then the boss is a Farum beast, which also blows ass, but he's obviously not hard, and when he dies, you get the Golden Order Greatsword, which no one uses, but it's cool nonetheless, and it's a legendary weapon, so I think it counts towards an achievement. Now onto a unique dungeon, the Sainted Hero's Grave. This one is a bit annoying towards the end, for a reason I'll explain when we get there. But there's a few enemies in this dungeon that are just shadows. You can't hit them at all. In fact, you'll just roll through them, but they can hit you. The only way to damage these enemies is by luring them into the light emitted from the statues. It's pretty hard to miss, since a giant ass symbol is shown on the floor where the light lands. But after progressing the dungeon for a little bit, you'll fall through the ground, get violated, then head into a corridor with falling blades. The enemies here are very affectionate and love to give kisses, so make sure you collect as many as you can, since I know your ass was lonely on Valentine's Day. The least you can do is make your white day a happy one. Anyway, to open the door to the boss, you need to go up a giant ladder and then across the bridge, and you'll see him.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
This duelist bastard is a shadow, and as you may have noticed, there's no other light around, other than the one in the previous room you fell down into. You have to waddle your ass back there, while not dying to this son of a bitch, or the falling blades. And once you get to the top of the stairs, he'll start backing up, meaning you now have to bait attacks out of him and get him to move forward. So make sure your dodge game is on point, and once he gets into the circle of light, he is now available to violate and assault, and he should be scared, because it will be explicit in nature.
Nice.
Anyway, the boss isn't much, it's just an ancient hero of Zamor, and he drops the ancient dragon knight Christoph's spirit ashes. And now, finally, the absolute best dungeon in Elden Ring, the Ozuria side tomb, which is directly across from the Ozuria hero's grave. This one is so high up, because just like the last one, it is unique. At the very least, I can't think of another dungeon that doesn't this gimmick. I'm sure there's probably one, but whatever, I like this one. So this dungeon's gimmick is trap chest. Every single chest in this dungeon is a teleporter chest, which obviously means you'll be teleported throughout the dungeon by opening the chests. And there's a few places you can only reach by going through the correct chest. I won't tell you which chests to use to get to the boss, because suffering is half the fun. But you'll get a lot of cracked pots within this dungeon, and you'll be teleported into a room with 2 warrior jars that haven't had new innards in far too long. But the best part is by far the boss. It's just another fucking duelist. I feel almost bad for these guys. None of them are difficult in any way, except for the one in the consecrated snowfields that's next to an angry bear. But these guys are practically just a spittoon for the tarnished to spit in. They're a damn joke. It's kind of just sad, but at least the reward is cute. You get the spirit summons of the exploding jars, something I'm sure you'll never use. But what do I know? Anyway, if you watched until this point, then thanks for sticking around. If you found this video a bit stupid and absolutely correct, then please consider giving this video a like and subscribing. It would really help out the channel and mean a lot to me. Until next time.